Hello everyone, it's nice to see you here. So we have our Buddhism 101 weekly, or now it's coming at almost bi-weekly meeting. I was looking at the positioning of my camera and realized that I think we're going to see in the videos a progression of my hair and hair growth during this viral outbreak. So it should be interesting. Today we're going to talk about doubt. Hello Linda, good to see you. Today we're going to be talking about doubt from the Buddhist perspective, and then we're also going to talk about doubt in terms of when we're seeking our meaning in life, or seeking doubt, or doubt when we're seeking guidance, or trying to figure out a path for ourselves, where we're going to go, how we're going to get there. We'll have our regular service where we're going to do silent meditation for the sitting meditation for the first 10 minutes. Then we'll do a Dharma talk, and then after the Dharma talk we'll do another meditation. Hello Lance and Vanessa, good to see you. Or see that you're here. I miss seeing everyone. It'll be I'll give instructions on the meditation, and the meditations will be different. The first meditation will be just to help us calm ourselves, to calm the mind and help us be more present, more centered. And the second meditation will be more insight oriented, where you'll take what you heard during the Dharma talk, pay attention to what grabbed your attention the most, and just ponder that and think about it and sit with it for those 10 minutes. So for our meditation, we're going to have our sitting meditation. During our sitting meditation, there are a few techniques that we share or suggest at the temple. The first technique is to simply follow the breath, feel the breath, notice the sensations associated with the breath, how it feels as you take it, as you inhale, any feeling as it enters your nose, enters the back of your throat and fills your lungs. It can also be feeling how the warmth of your air as you exhale. So the idea is to simply focus on the sensation of breathing, to focus on how it feels to breathe. The second technique is also just counting the breath. And so count it up to 10, and if you lose count along the way, you simply start over again with the number 1 and keep counting that way. And the third technique is to use a mantra or a gatha. And this is where we use a phrase or a word that we repeat over and over again. And the one that we often suggest here is breathing in, I calm my mind. Breathing out, I smile. And usually try to have a half smile on your face, something that is calm and peaceful. Inevitably, regardless of how much you meditate, you will have moments of distraction. You will have moments of moments where thoughts or emotions may pop up. And what you want to do is take the time to just observe them. Don't engage them. Just maybe label them. So you can label it as thoughts, label emotions, or label as sensations. So if you feel an itch, or if you hear a sound, if you feel some discomfort, then label it, and then simply sit with it, and you will watch that it eventually goes away on its own. If you're a beginning meditator, if you have something that is causing you distraction, then go ahead and address it some way. So if you're sitting in a way that's causing your feet to fall asleep, or you're uncomfortable, then go ahead and shift and move. As you progress in your meditation, though, you may get to the point where you'll want to challenge yourself. If something itches, not scratch it at all, and simply allow it to go on its own. If you feel uncomfortable when you're seating, simply pushing through it. If you get to that point in your meditation, all I ask is, and what many meditators ask, is you don't do anything that does any lasting damage to you. The idea is here that you want to address very serious things, but if it's not a serious thing, to simply be with it and let it pass. During the first meditation, first sitting meditation, where we're focusing on the breath, the idea here is just you want to be more present oriented. You don't want to be thinking about the future or the past. As those thoughts pop up, let them go the way a wave crashes upon the shore and simply recedes back into the ocean. You want to calm the mind. You want to find a peaceful balance. Then we'll do our Dharma talk. And after our Dharma talk, during the Dharma talk, pay attention to those elements of the talk that grab your attention. Those elements of the talk that make you go, strike a chord within you. And those are the elements you want to sit with and meditate with during that second meditation. And be curious. Ask tons of questions about why you were interested in that. Why did it catch your attention? And simply follow your curious mind quietly, non-judgmentally, compassionately, so that you can gain some insight as to why those elements caught your attention. Good. Let's go ahead and get in a position that is comfortable. I'm going to set my timer here. When it comes to sitting, you want to sit in a position that is comfortable enough that you can remain still for the 10 minutes, not so comfortable that you fall asleep. So you want to find that happy balance. So take a moment to just start quieting the mind, to start centering yourself, to slow things down. Take a moment to really appreciate your breath. How good it feels to be able to breathe. few months ago, there was a mention of the 5 hindrances. I believe it's a talk that Leon Bryant was given. And one of the 5 hindrances, and hindrances here from a Buddhist perspective means those things that can disrupt or interfere with our spiritual journey, our path to enlightenment. And from the Buddhist perspective, they list 5, and one of them being doubt. And one of the members in the congregation, in the group, asked a really good question about what is the difference between doubting and questioning. You see, the easy answer when you have doubt is, for someone to say, well, just have faith. And that answer is just not enough for me. Unfortunately, Buddhism does not ask us to engage in blind faith. It does ask us to engage in faith that this is a good path, that this is a good path that will lead to good fruit, and that will eventually lead to enlightenment. But it does not ask us to have that faith blindly. In fact, Buddha himself said, question everything, even my words. So you're not even supposed to take Buddha's words and his teachings at face value. You're meant to question them. But what's the difference between doubt and questioning? So that kind of lingered in my mind, and I was having a discussion about Buddhism with some friends in another group, and it came up again, and we had some really good insights, and I wanted to share some of those with you. Real briefly, doubt, I think the main component is that doubt is very egocentric. It's very I-focused. If you think about what we say when we are doubting, we say, am I, ego, am I doing the right thing? Am I following the right path? How will others think about me as I do this? And so it's very self-centered, very self-focused. Doubt also has a tendency to cause us to freeze. When we have doubt, we just kind of are afraid to do anything because we don't want to do the wrong thing. Or doubt can also spring from impatience. Sometimes doubt springs forth when, for example, we're taught that we're taught to be very focused in our meditation, to do sitting meditation and do lots of sitting meditation. And as we engage in that, it's very tempting to become very impatient and want enlightenment or insight now, as opposed to working on it. An image or an analogy that was shared with me once was, it's like taking an axe and chopping a tree. A tree that needs 100 blows with the axe in order to fell the tree. And at the 36th strike, we start getting doubt. And as long as we continue to persist and be patient, even when we don't see any progress, when we finally get to that 100th strike, we'll finally have that insight and that aha moment. So impatience can sometimes lead to that doubt. The other one, I took some notes here. Yes, and the other one is that doubt can be very judgmental. And we hear time and time again in Buddhism that being judgmental or being uncompassionate with oneself is not healthy and often leads to some difficulties. Now, contrast that with questioning. And in questioning, we kind of see the opposite of doubt. In questioning, you're not judgmental, or at least you're less judgmental, because it's not a matter of saying whether it's right or wrong. You're simply curious. You are exploring. And even that act of exploring, that's an active verb, there is movement as opposed to the freezing that can happen with doubt. And so with curiosity, with exploration, that comes with questioning, there is movement. And with questioning, there's patience. One recognizes that sometimes the answers don't come right away, that they take time to come. And we keep working at it, and we keep doing our research. And finally, while doubt is very egocentric and self-focused, questioning is more balanced in its focus of self and others. Because our questioning isn't about so much, am I doing the right thing, is, will this lead me to enlightenment? The idea being that enlightenment is something that is good for you and for others. Am I doing the right thing becomes, does the practice of Buddhism lead to healthy outcomes for me and for others? And so that's the subtle differences between doubt and questioning. Now I want to extend this idea of doubt and merely focus on self-doubt when it comes to our search for meaning of life, or making career choices or academic choices, or choices for our academic paths. And during a recent meditation, another image that came to me that became very fruitful when it comes to this idea of doubt and questioning versus questioning when it comes to our meaning or when it comes to our career choices, was the image of, what if by some magical way or some bad way or something or other, if I found myself in the middle of a forest, not knowing how I got there? What would I do? What would you do? And different ideas came to mind, And all of the ideas, all these images spoke to the idea of what happens when we feel that there can only be one meaning to life, or when we put a lot of pressure on finding the right career or making the right choice on any matter. So for example, if I were stuck in the middle of the forest, I could potentially, if I wanted to, just sit there and think about, how did I get here? And despite the lack of information about how I got there, I may continue to ponder how I got here. And all I'm doing is wasting time and energy, and maybe putting myself in danger by not doing other more productive things. Or the opposite. I could just sit there and really think about, it's going to be so nice to be back in my bed, or back at home, or back with friends, or back in my car. And I can be thinking so much about what it will be like when I finally get to my destination, that I waste time and I waste energy, and I get no movement and no progress toward that goal. I could decide to just sit there and really appreciate the nature around me. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we just need an escape from the chaos of our lives, and it's nice to just take a break and sit and do nothing and just appreciate that which is around us. Or once we decide to move, appreciate things along the way. But what would I do if I were stuck in the middle of the forest, not knowing which is the right direction, but knowing that I had to get out? Staying there forever is not an option. I could try and listen for and hear for directions of what might be the right way. And we often do that, and we sometimes stay too long in one position trying to figure out what the right choice is. or what the right motivation is. But if, in the face of the lack of any clues as to which way to go, I have to do something. Oftentimes when it comes to choices, big choices, we have a tendency to just freeze and just stay in that one spot. But at some point, any movement in any direction is going to be helpful. And that's where that doubt and freezing comes. If you have doubt and all you do is freeze, there's no movement. So you have to question, you have to move, you have to do small decisions. You know what? I'm going to go in that direction. Let's say we decide to climb to follow the incline and climb up a mountain, or climb a tree to try and get a better perspective. That's at least movement. That means that you're trying to get an idea of the lay of the land and what direction you may want to go to. So you're sort of setting goals. But ultimately, you won't be able to see all the things along the way. As much as you plan on how you're going to get to that goal, there are many obstacles along the way to that goal that you won't see and won't get to unless you have movement. So let's say you're stuck in the middle of the forest. You've done your best efforts to get the lay of the land and try and get some clues as to which way to go. And after all that, you decide, I'm just going to go in that direction. So you just pick one. In the lack of face of any clear direction or evidence, you're better off just picking a direction, making small decisions, and hopefully along the way catch some clues. Maybe run across an animal path, a river, a road, something that might give you some clues. The roads and the animal paths and the rivers are kind of like paths that others have gone through or others have been through. And although those are useful for a while and can be useful for a long while, the truth is that if you come across a path like that, you have no idea which way is the right way anyways. So those paths are good for a while and may get you ahead, but ultimately you have to just take your own path. Others who watch a lot of survival episodes or TV shows may say, well, it's time to take shelter or make shelter. And that's important. So in that analogy, in terms of what it means for our spiritual life or career choices or meaning of life, it's a lot of work. And so taking shelter is analogous to just taking some rest and taking care of yourself. You can't walk and march 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's not healthy. It's not safe. You need to rest. And so that analogy or that imagery of taking shelter is important as you start thinking about your decisions. Or maybe you have been trying to make this decision for a long time now. And maybe it's now time to rest. Take a break. And then continue afterwards. Other things, as you start taking your path, you may take a direction because you have no better clue. You may go in a direction that ultimately will end at a cliff or at a waterfall or at a some sort of obstacle that will indicate to you you made the wrong choice. And as much as it pains you to accept that you may have wasted energy going in that direction, at least now you have an idea of which direction is not the right way. And you have a better idea now of what other direction you can take. And that happens sometimes in our choices. But at least you made a movement, and at least you made an effort. And at least now you have more information than when you first started. Also, the idea that you may be able to get out of this forest in multiple directions. So a lot of times we get stuck on this idea that there's only one meaning to life, or there's one right choice for my career, when in reality, there are many different meanings to life. You have a meaning to life for today, a meaning to life for this week, a meaning for the month, a meaning for the year, maybe a meaning for the rest of your life, or for many years. But there are multiple meanings. And in terms of career choices, it is so common for people to make career changes throughout their life. And sometimes, often, very often, these career changes are very, very drastically different from what you're going through now. So those are kind of analogous to again, this imagery of what happens if you were stuck in the middle of the forest. All right? There are multiple directions you can go, and some of them will lead to obstacles that need to be overcome. Some of you who may be thinking about nourishment, food and water along the way. And so part of being appreciative of and being able to be mindful of your surroundings as you're going through this forest of life, you keep an eye out for nourishment, or you keep an eye out for water. And so these are things that are necessary along the way. But you also have to make sure that that food is safe, or that water is boiled. And so that the boiling of water, or preparation, or the preparation of food is very much like the critical thinking, we have to do as we all go along the way. Right? We have to test our thoughts and our decisions along the way. We have to listen to gut reactions. We have to listen to our emotions. Emotions, one of the things, a theory that is been gaining in popularity in psychology, is that emotions is just another way of thinking that makes very quick decisions, and just gives us a way to process large amounts of information in a very quick way. So emotions, while we like to think of it as the heart and thinking being the mind, the truth is it all originates up here in the mind. So emotions is a form of thinking, of processing what's around you. So pay attention to those things. That's like finding and preparing the nourishment along the way. Now I'm looking through my notes here, see if there's anything, other analogies that came to me as I was working on this. I think I hit all the main points. If you struggle with existential questions, why am I here? What's my meaning here? You can freeze and just stay in one spot and think about it all you want. But it will frustrate you and it will not be very healthy. But if you make some movement, some decision, try out different meanings and find, well, this element of this meaning worked but not this part, then great. In fact, if you ever ask someone who seems to have figured it all out, what was their meaning in life, or what was their motivating factor, you will find that very often what they say to you is either complex and has many parts, which basically incorporates that multiple meanings, or is so general and so broad that it can incorporate multiple facets of life. So I've yet to encounter anyone who has a very simple, singular meaning to life. When it comes to difficult choices, again, we can freeze and we can think and think and think and think, but ultimately making some movement, that questioning as opposed to freezing of doubt, that movement towards and exploring and being curious helps us gather information along the way that feels better than simply waiting around. So going back to the Buddhism, this same imagery of being stuck in the forest can very much be applied to our religious or spiritual path. We can be doubtful or full of doubt, focus on ourselves and freeze, and be very judgmental or worried about what others may think, or we can be questioning, critical thinkers, experiencers, explorers, be curious, be patient, and be balanced in our focus of self and others. For this next meditation, these next 10 minutes, grab 1 or 2 points from this Dharma talk that struck you, maybe something you hadn't considered before, or something that just really caught your attention. And spend some time just letting it sit there, letting it percolate. When you're ready, start asking why questions or open-ended questions, and follow your instincts, follow your gut reactions, and see what insights come, these mini enlightenments. produced during this time together bring happiness, health, safety, and peace to ourselves and to others. Stay tuned for any, or keep an ear out for any announcements on the Buddhism 101. We're going to be discussing with the group whether we're going to go to maybe an every other week type of scenario or stay with a weekly. If you have any opinions or ideas on that, make sure, please leave a comment under these videos when it pops up in the next 2 minutes or so. Also, feel free to leave any comments or ideas or thoughts you had about today's Dharma talk under the comments. It's always nice to hear some feedback or thoughts, as you may have seen and often will see things that I haven't noticed. And so it's always great to hear from you. Thank you very much for being here today. And I hope that you stay healthy and you stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.